Hey everybody, Snigby here from Snigby Gaming. Running through this a little bit differently, seeing if you like this way of going about this. This is early game. You're going to see a lot of people doing early game out here, and I thought I'd do this a little bit differently for you. So I'm going to use a lot of blueprints by Milos. He's a phenomenal creator when it comes to Factorio. If you haven't subscribed to him, I'd highly recommend that you go and check him out and watch some of his videos. So these are some blueprints that he's created that help you get a jump start on your base and basically help you move along. And so what is a blueprint? Well, you can take a snapshot of what you've built or what somebody else has built and actually copy it into your own game and then put it down there and build off of that. Factorio is very, very much a game of understanding where the what the ratios are. For example, when you're building your red science over there, the red science is has a ratio out there, basically a couple of copper plates to a couple of gears to a couple of iron plates and everything out there. By the way, while I'm doing this, you'll notice that I'm chopping down a lot of trees. A lot of people will say that, while we have biters, and those biters are the enemy, the actual enemy in Factorio are the trees. And if you'll notice, I'm running this at 8 times speed, so I did speed this up quite a bit to do a little time lapse here. But I'm chopping a lot of trees here. And once I get all these trees chopped down, I'll put down the factory that I'm building here, and then we're going to come back to it. It's kind of funny watching myself and back chopping those little trees down. So you'll see I put the factory back down over it. Now I've got a blueprint there of this initial factory. So what I'm doing here right now is I'm actually doing a lot of research. I'm getting ahead on my research queue right there. If I wanted to speed up the build of the game a little bit, I could have put a little less emphasis on researching all those red science items that I had out there. But I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and get that science done while we're putting down this stuff and waiting for some things to build out here. The great thing about blueprints, though, is if you like what you've done in the past, you can go ahead and put it back down. If you find something that was pretty impressive by somebody else, you can go ahead and put those down, and you can go ahead and use that. I'm going to use blueprints a lot in this playthrough, but I am also going to go through and put some thought into my own play style as well. What you saw right there, by the way, just for a second, is that patch of iron that I was sitting on, the original patch that I had, it ran out. So I've actually mined that ore out. And now we're getting into moving on. So again, early game is a lot of running back and forth, taking care of things out there. Here I decided to go ahead and take care of this biter base over here because the babushim kept moving over a little bit closer. It took a lot of ammunition. I'm on the yellow ammunition. Yellow upgrades to red. Basically think of red as being armor piercing, if you will. We'll get into that in a little while, but so it took a lot of ammunition, and if I remember, I need to go ahead and build myself some more ammunition. But you know what? I don't have to do that because that's what this mall here is, and that's what this whole concept that we're going to run into here is all about. What you see me building here is what's called a smelting array. It's a very small smelting array. It was actually built backwards because I wanted the coal to come in from the top instead of the bottom. So I just went ahead and put it down, and I changed some things out there. But I'm going to go ahead and take some time and actually start building out my iron over here. And once you get to the point that you can build your first smelting array, these little burner miners over here and that little setup that I keep going back to pick up plates actually becomes a little less important. Matter of fact, they'll all go away here directly before the end of this episode. I will have the entire jumpstart base here That's what it's called, put up. And so now I'm putting in some electric miners to go out there and put in my coal. And so you'll notice that I could have gone through and built a lot more of our burner miners. If I had, I would have created a lot more pollution. But here we're going through and working through that. Now, this setup that I have here at the very front, you'll notice I have two splitters facing into each other and two sets of belts running either way out of that. What that does is it takes the item that's coming in off the top and puts it on the top side of the belt, and the item that's coming on the bottom and puts it on the bottom side of the belt. So you can actually mix your belts. And by putting in ore and coal, you actually have a nice little array there that allows you to fairly quickly go in and pick up some iron and go on about your day. So at this point, I just need to go ahead and continue on building out this array. You'll also put a little box out there so I had a little storage. So if I need to handcraft something, I don't have to keep coming back there. I'm doing a lot of crafting out here as we go through. And as I finish up this mall, as you get into the later parts of this thing, you'll notice that I'm going to still handcraft quite a bit, but the mall here, this jumpstart based, if you will, is actually it's going to take care of all that crafting for me. And that's the whole thing about Factorio, is you want to automate as much as possible so that you can go out and build something new and continue on with what you're doing as you go through. Now you'll notice that the way I'm doing this is I actually recorded this, sped it up. I use DaVinci Resolve as my editing tool, and I haven't figured out how to put voiceovers into DaVinci, so I'll work on that a little bit. So right there, I went ahead and picked up my my iron smelting, and I went ahead and decided, you know what, let's go ahead and put some copper up here and upgrade our copper. And because I'm at this point, I decided to go ahead and hold off on any more research. I'm fairly far ahead in the research queue. I'm going to go ahead and focus on building my base and getting this little jumpstart base right in here. Yeah, so here I wanted to go ahead and rebuild this. Oh, got called to lunch or breakfast, I think it was. This is an early morning session here. I went ahead and wanted to rebuild my array that makes the belts a little bit closer, so I didn't have to walk quite so far to get to it. So I did that. Right now I'm working on the copper, so I'm working on copper smelting first before I put in that second line of iron. We'll talk about ratios in a later episode here, but again, I'm going to go ahead and put in a box here that helps me capture just a little buffer of iron plate and copper plates so I can work through that. And there is that initial little jumpstart base out, and I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my iron. So a lot of people will actually call this spaghetti. One of the things about factories is they're really designed to be built on the grid, and a lot of these will actually be a grid base, and mine will as we go through here. But right now, I have to snake some belts through my factory to get them to where I want them to be. And lack of planning makes me have to rebuild some things out here. So you'll see that every once in a while as we go through. I wanted some more iron so I could go ahead and craft some additional things there. So you'll see a lot of times that I walk across the belt, at least here in the early stages, and I'm picking up those iron. In order to pick something up from the ground, you press F, and you go ahead and do that. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm also crafting up some additional smelters because I'm going to be the next phase of my base is actually getting my large smelting arrays set up, and that will take me into the next phase of the game where I move out of this jumpstart base and into a traditional mall-based base where basically the factory is building things for me as we go through, and we continue on from there. All right. So one of the things, if I've been crafting some green circuits from the start, um, I wouldn't have to. It wouldn't take quite so long to handcraft these items out there. But it all works out in the end as you get going through here. A lot of misplaced belts. Um, Not a great professional when it comes to this, but I have fun doing it. The other thing that I have to think about here is sometimes when I've got these trees in the way, I can't see how those um, inserters are laid out there, so I have to kind of work with that. Um, Later on, I will chop down the rest of these trees. I just want to go ahead and get things started as we went through here. Um, so right now, I'm just going through and copying what's going on in the mall there. You'll notice there's a lot of trips back and forth to get uh, belt and everything. And we'll go ahead and at this point, I'm getting pretty excited because I do have the primary ingredients that I'm working on right now being created for me. So at this point, I should have no more need to come back to that area. I'm still going to go ahead and do it just because it allows me to build that belt a little bit faster. Um, I'm still having to handcraft a few items as we go through. Get some green circuits on the line. So let's talk about this concept of a hub, a mall, something along those lines. What that really is an area of your base that builds things for you while you're not there. For example, I need a lot of inserters, those yellow-headed inserters, red-headed inserters, the blue. We need a lot of those. I could actually put them in my pocket and craft a lot of them by hand, and that will work. Unfortunately, you'll notice that it takes a long time to craft them. So, if you look down at the bottom, I'm actually crafting a few of them there, and it takes a long time to craft them. So if you can walk away from this area and have it run and build your mall area, I mean build your individual items, then that will actually save things up pretty good. Now here I'm actually limiting my chest size, so I'm not going to have a big stockpile of iron just hanging out. When I get into my regular base, I'll have that. But right now we're going to limit that in this jumpstart area. Alright, so at this point I've gone ahead and I have started researching again, which is nice because I did want to go ahead and get that steel axe, which is a faster axe. It allows me to chop down the trees a little faster. Um, Here you'll also notice that I'm upgrading my array of research benches. What that does is if it takes let's say you have a research that takes 100 research bottles to be researched. Well, if you put that, and they each take 10 seconds to go, that's 1,000 seconds it's going to take you to run through that. Well, if you have 10 research uh, items out there, you could take and actually divide that by 10. So now instead of doing 1,000 seconds, it takes 100 seconds. Um, Again, there's ratios involved, so you don't want to overproduce or underproduce your science here. Most bases are based around uh, setting up a certain amount of research per second. You'll see some very big mega builds out there where they may say, we're going to go ahead and build out 1,000 research a second. Well, I'm going to go ahead and build mine out so that it's designed around a 60 research per second as we go through, and hope that'll be pretty good. And then again, I'm working this to get to the point where we will launch that rocket and get off the base here, or get back to home. Now, interesting thing about that little box there, there's logic that you can build into this game. So it's not just about building; it's also about not overbuilding. One of the things that I need to have and keep in mind is that eventually those yellow inserters they run slow. There's blue inserters that run faster. And there's stack inserters that will actually grab a stack of items and put them in. So they run even faster yet. So I want to ensure that I don't create too many of those yellow inserters. I can eventually convert those into blue or red inserters, but we don't want to overproduce. And so there's a logic gate out there, and my logic gate says, put these yellow inserters into a box. And once that box gets over 50, I want to go ahead and allow the additional inserters to move into science, because inserters and belts are the second part of our science. The green sciences are based off of that. Here I went ahead and just added some more smelting or more ore gathering to my array so I can get more iron down. More iron means more gears. More gears means I can go ahead and produce the things that I'm trying to produce. I also noticed that I needed to increase my power usage. So you'll see me in a second go down and increase my power. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and pick up some more stone, add in a few more, what are those, miners as we go through. And as you can see now, I'm getting ready to extend my power. All right. Now I put that one burner miner sideways there because it'll be waiting for me when I come back down to continue adding on to my power. Put in another, what is that thing called? Radar, so I can finish that up. And at this point, I'm just kind of wrapping things up because my jump start bait is ready to go. Everything is out there. I'm going to spend a little bit more time here right at the very end, getting rid of all the rest of the trees that are actually in the jumpstart base, so I don't have to look at those. Make sure I've got everything set aside there. And it looks like we are making green science, we're making red science, and everybody should be happy. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I ran this at 800 speed, so this is 1/8 the time it took me. It was a 20-minute video, so multiply that by 8, that's 160. So what's that? 120 is 2 hours. So it took me a little over 2.5 hours to run through this. So again, hope you enjoyed this episode and this format. I'll continue on exploring with this and playing with this, but everybody, have a great day. And with that, this is Cindy signing off. If you have enjoyed this concept, please consider subscribing and giving me a thumbs up. I sure appreciate it. And with that, everybody, goodbye.